Spec-5 World Tour heads to Daytona International Speedway to race on the high banks in what's always super close quarters, slipstreaming, drafting action for these cars. This is one of those rounds that you always circle in your calendar. You know you're gonna see something, and you never know who's gonna win until the final couple hundred feet before the line in the tri-oval in front of all of the spectators at one of the world's most famous racing circuits. So as you can see on the road course, 3.5 miles, 11 turns, 45 minutes of racing coming up, as it's I guess that's a warm evening, but definitely cooler than the heat of the day, with just a little bit of wind around. Fifth round of the championship, and qualifying is just getting underway. This might be one of the rounds where qualifying is less important than others, but we do have a big old grid of racers who want their chance at victory on the banking at Daytona. 34 cars, and they're all just heading out for qualifying right now. At Ronnie Coates, a race winner already this season, and definitely as we get towards the end of the championship, something we'll keep an eye on is who's heading for that title, because we've had multiple different race winners between Timon Bramley, Camden Hibbert, Ronnie Coates, and other very, very competitive drivers across the season. Here's Joel Singleton, blue stripe underneath the number, an open class driver, and this is definitely a round where some of the open class drivers can mix it up front if they're just really clever about how they stay in the slipstream, how they stay with the leading packs. And you can do a lot just by racing smart here at Daytona. Camden Hibbert, he said, a winner last time out at Okayama, not the last broadcast, but the last race that actually took place. That's been a little bit of confusion, but I'm glad we could bring a replay of the Sebring race to you on the weekend. So he's negotiating the bus stop on his outlap, getting ready, getting prepped up for 4 flying laps, and looking at the lap times and the lap distance around here. They do need to get out of pit lane early in this session to be able to fully get around for 4 flying laps. So Salston here also now on our screen in the infield between the horseshoes. No times for qualifying yet, but a lot of drivers are about to start their first flying lap, like Ronnie Coates, like Tom Sanders, like Joel Singleton, Mario Norris, Mitchell Peake. And they've got 4 laps. Conditions probably not going to change a whole lot, given the sun has already set on us. My goodness, it's almost 11 p.m. What are we? NASCAR after a rain delay? So I'm David Haynes, Devin Peters joining me for our broadcast tonight on HJBC as we bring you every race of the season. Not necessarily every race of the season live, although that was our plan, but every race of the season for our second season covering Spec-5 World Tour.
Mostly live, mostly here. That's all we can hope for sometimes. Good start to the qualifying
In this economy, am I right?
I know it looks like a good start to the session so far.
Speaking of mostly live and mostly here, make sure you go to hjbc.live for live timing, particularly right now during qualifying, but also in the race when we get around the pit stops. Give you lots of great information. The best sectors I'm seeing at the moment are actually coming from Michael Coates in the 213 at the moment, though Joshua Soto has got some good sectors as well. This is the green and yellow machine of Michael Coates.
Yeah, seeing some interesting tire warm-up strategies as well. A lot of weaving on the outlaps. Looks like it's a chilly one out there, and we've seen what happens when it's a little chilly out there.
Yeah, indeed. So, about to get some of our first times on the board. I definitely think Ronnie Coates was definitely one of the first out the gate with the fastest outlap. Pardon me. Now on his flying lap, Michael Coates is out of the bus stop. A flat out run from here to the line. seen of many lead change. Joshua Soto at the moment at the top. Michael Coates had some quicker sectors than him. Crosses the line, and after the first volley of flying laps, Michael Coates has gone to the top, but they'll get quite a bit quicker from here on.
Yeah, quick laps in the qualifying too, quite a ways off of what we'll be seeing in the race. So a little bit of a chance that we'll see some big packs, at least until things get chaotic, but that's what they always tend to do. Good opening laps from a couple of our open qualifiers. Joel Singleton and Ian Giebler really close together. Following along with Joel Singleton now as he runs 2:11.813, which puts him just ahead of Ian Giebler, about 0.05 ahead.
Hey, Devin, who's got the slowest time at the moment?
Oh, it's the Australian.
This has got to be tactical because it was 15 seconds off, but it counted, right? It wasn't like a spin or an off track because those wouldn't have counted the lap.
I did say that there was some interesting tire warming going on, though I saw it from a couple other folks. Do wonder though if a slow out lap is kind of what's making this thing feel best. Slow-ish.
And then that's what Formula One teams might call a prep lap.
Yeah, it could also be one of those things where he just like really missed turn number 1. I am going back to take a look.
All right, we'll see. I've got faith in him as he's on his second of his 4 allocated laps for qualifying, but this one hopefully a little bit quicker. The answer is all the sectors are good so far.
Well, improving on awful isn't that hard, Haynes.
Sorry?
Improving on awful isn't that hard. The first one wasn't very good.
Okay. I thought it was some Canadian word I hadn't heard before. What a provenant awful was, but I was like, is it related to poutine? Is it like that but on a waffle?
Nope, just my thick rural accent coming through. I will try to be more international in my dialect from here on out. Camden Hibbett takes the lead. Our young gun using his lightweight to his advantage.
Yeah, that doesn't quite cut across on the sim, but I'm sure he wishes it did. Yeah, second flurry of laps coming through with Camden Hibbett going to the top, usurping Michael Coates. Simon Bramley, second lap, slots him into second, and he picked up a purple sector in 4 of the 5. So I'm trying to work out if that includes the bus stop.
5, I think, is right after the bus stop, so it's your run out of it. Either way, Mike Dam's gone and put himself up at the top of the timing sheets for the first sector.
I think we'll see this just continue to tumble lap to lap to lap with those track temperatures and air temperatures that we saw. Definitely tires still going to be given on laps 3 and 4, and the banked NASCAR corners really don't put a whole lot of heat or wear into the tires at the speeds that these cars go. They're functionally, for all intents and purposes, a straight for these cars at their speeds. So yeah, you really then only have sort of the bus stop and then that opening part of the lap with turn 1 and through the horseshoes in the infield there that does a whole lot for both warming but also wearing the tires.
A new name puts himself to the front of the open class. Ethan Stanley up now in what looks like 8th place at the moment with a 2:10.8. Nearly a full second ahead of those times you saw earlier and about a half second ahead of the next best open qualifier. Haven't seen Ethan in the front, that's for sure, of open class yet. And a quick review of the point screen would suggest that we haven't seen him at all just yet. Either way, he's got to be feeling pretty good about that first one. Way to announce yourself. Joel Singleton comes along though and says he's getting right up to the that speed, and goes with a 2:10.89 to bring himself within a few hundredths, or 500ths of the lead of O.
Yeah, another group of drivers now completing their third flying lap, and there are still plenty of purple sectors to be seen.
Kind of surprised, honestly, by how little drop-off there seems to be. I mean, I know it's cold out, but these things are getting faster every single lap. Canadian back up on front. Mike Dam takes his spot.
Pushing your little nationalist agenda.
Hey, you gotta cheer
Taking
for
the wins
something.
where you can get them. Taking the wins where you can get them.
When we do the broadcasters versus the league race, they can we can see how the nationalism plays out there.
Yeah, we should have an off-season race where you and I each draft 10 drivers and then we stack up the points.
I'm in. We can do it around the figure 8 too.
Yeah, let's try to sell that at some point. So who's definitely looking like they're improving? Ronnie Coates definitely up. Timon Bramley so lost actually early on. Joshua Soto, I think his qualifying is done. On his final lap, he might have cut the bus stop. No more improvement for Joshua Soto. No better than 5th on the grid. Some quick cars in front of him, some quick cars behind. Camden Hibbert's qualifying is done. Ronnie Coates' qualifying is done. Mike Dan still remains on the top, and here he is coming through NASCAR turns 3 and 4. Flat chat heading towards the line with a chance of improving. It must have been a really good run through the bus stop if he's got any hope, because no personal best sectors the first half of the way around the lap.
Yeah, he's not down by a lot, but we'll see what it is at the line here. Stop that stopwatch. No better, but still real fast. 210, 298. Not quite enough to extend his lead, but enough to hold on to it. Quick lap from Robert Hartley. After 2 cuts at the bus stop, Robert Hartley puts himself up into 3rd. Haven't seen a lot of him this season either.
No, but something of an MX-5 specialist and something of a Daytona road course lover, mayhaps. This is certainly one of the iconic tracks for the way that these cars race. A lot of drivers now done with their qualifying. Rory Coimbra has a chance to improve on 5th. So does David Starb from 15th, maybe a little deeper than we'd expect to see him. Personal best sectors most of the way around this lap so far, so expect him to improve, and he's got a little bit of yellow line fever perhaps there, right down towards the apron, trying to cut the shortest line around Daytona's high banks.
Yeah, not a lot of cars left on track, but this is looking like a decent one. Coimbra gets the line.
And also falls short of improving. David Starb also hundredths of a second short of improving. We've seen that out of a lot of drivers. That 3rd lap, they're all chasing it in the 4th and not quite getting there.
Yeah, same story for Ray Lombardi as he crosses the line in 7th place, holds on to it. And it looks to me like that'll be the end of qualifying.
Not a great qualifying there for Andrew Gilliland. 2 cars, and at least Tim Wire had a penalty for a pit lane start, so he didn't qualify. Don't know about Eugenio Pellicci, but then 32 cars off 34 have qualified, and everyone, absolutely everyone, has completed their laps. Mike Dam, no one can take pole away from him, as he is 100th of a second better than Ronnie Coates to make up the front row. Robert Hartley and Camden Hibbert, row number 2, as your top 4 qualifiers are all in the 210.2s. And still within a tenth of pole, Rui Coimbra in 5th, ahead of Joshua Soto in 6th, Ray Lombardi, Trevor Roy, Mitchell Peake, and Timon Bramley as the top 10.
11th on back. Looks like we got Michael Coates holding off the first open drivers, Ethan Stanley in 12th and Joel Singleton in 13th. Jordy Fike takes 14th for pro, as does David Stabb in 15th, Brian Chabelski 16th. Tom Athan doing his first season in pro after winning that open class championship last season. He's qualified at respectable 17th. Tom Sanders 18th, Ian Giebler 19th, Sean Hayes in 20th, and we'll keep on scrolling. Looks like we got Lee Martin and Gareth Brocklesby locking out an all open class row there. Odyssey Adams in 23rd, followed by Greg Mack, Josh Olson, Jose Gonzalez, Andy Cossack, Mario Norris, Paulo Coimbra, Andrew Gilliland, Orlando Harrell, Zeus Dalston, Eugenio Polici, and the aforementioned Tim Wire with his start from the pits. Of course, in addition to the beautiful logo on your screen right now, you will have noticed some different colors on the numbers for the cars on our overlays today. The red numbers are the pro class and the blue numbers are the open class drivers. The filled in red numbers will be the points leaders, and the filled in blue number, the point leader for open. And then, of course, the sponsors. So the way that this series can happen, the way it does, we got our gold, silver, and bronze drivers. The gold drivers with the biggest donations and the biggest benefits, supporting the league and getting the opportunity to weigh in on things like track selection and sort of make a big difference for everything around here.
And we get the Spec-5 World Tour Classic of the pace lap and a half today. And so the circuit is 3.5 miles and the pace car speed is 60 miles an hour. So I haven't crunched the numbers on that one perfectly.
Yeah, so I figure with this being the 5th round, it's a good time to start thinking about the points race. Of course, 13 rounds in the Spec-5 World Series, always a consideration, the points racing. Right now, leading the way in the points, we've got Timon Bramley with what looks like 368 points all told. Ronnie Coates, 2nd place with 358. Camden Hibbett, 343, and Josh Soto, 4th with 312. The four of them have had pretty strong finishes all the way along, with the exception of Camden's little incident there at Canada, where he found the dirt on some very, very cold tires, from what I was informed. Michael Coates had a bit of a mishap in the last round. Not the last round we filmed, but the one at Okayama there. Putting himself all the way down to 5th place after starting out the season pretty strong. Down in the open class, the top 5 in points are looking very tight this year. We got 5 guys shooting it out. Lee Martin currently holding on to the lead with 4 very consistent finishes, it must be said. Jose Gonzalez has had a couple of wins to his name, with wins, I believe, coming in Canada and Okayama. Andy Cossack feeling minty in 3rd place. Ian Giebler 4th. And, of course, the Canadian in 5th place. Gotta love it. Zeus Dalston doing pretty good for himself there. And another points battle that doesn't get talked about very often around here, but probably ought to, is the Mr. Clean points. Okay, you get all kinds of prizes when you participate in this league. So being a clean driver is rewarded. And Lee Martin not only leading the points in the open class, he's also leading the Mr. Clean battle with only 2 incidents to his name through 4 races. So don't want to jinx anyone, but that's a pretty impressive little run he's put himself on.
Certainly is very well done. Now at the pace car speed through the infield, where all the sports car fans like to be, where the little it's a Ferris wheel is, which is always well illuminated, and starting at night, finishing at night, we are, I think, guaranteed some fireworks displays, which I think we might have gotten shortchanged on at Sebring.
Yeah, I think I think we might have missed out on those. The time travel and the fireworks, you don't really want to mix those together.
Something weird about, I think if you start a race, it doesn't seem to matter whether the race finishes in the dark or not at Sebring based on whether or not you get fireworks. It just needs to be like after 10 p.m. or something. So sometimes we get a bit shortchanged there, but we're going to be all good here because it'll be basically midnight in session time when we get this one done. 45 minutes of racing will only start when the green flag waves after the pace car pulls in at the end of this formation lap. So the fuel started burning when the cars went down on the grid a lap ago, but the race time only begins when we do get racing. So they've already burnt a bit of fuel actually going around on this formation lap. They were telling me 60% of a racing lap fuel burn at the 60 miles an hour pace car speed. And I thought, geez, that sounds more than I expected, but apparently that's how it goes.
Yeah, we'll get an idea of who's bound their ignition and starter, and who's been rolling it like a NASCAR around here, trying to save a little bit extra. I'd imagine when we get to the fuel windows, pretty compressed fuel window here. Expecting pit stops after about the 7th lap, somewhere between the 7th and the 11th lap today. And I think drafting partner is going to be your biggest consideration, all told. Might be able to stretch it a bit further. And they come out of 4, Haynes.
They do. There's the pit entry to the infield, and the pace car driver is about to say my turn. But sometimes they leave it a little bit late, make that sharp turn to pit entry, waiting on the green flag from Barney. The tri-oval of Daytona International Speedway, and it waves now. Heading down towards turn 1, a very even start from both rows. Everyone looking for a clean start as they drop off the banking into turn 1. I see Robert Hartley already tapping the brakes a little bit before he fully got on the brakes, and he takes that inside line through turn 1 to lead them to the International Horseshoe.
In the background, you saw Gareth Brocklesby making it 3 wide around the outside before he decided to, discretion and all that, but doing his Alonso impression, and they stack up on the inside now in the back of the pack. A bunch of beating and banging on the inside, but everyone's pointing the right way as they filter through the first horseshoe.
Couple of moderately quick guys like Jose Gonzalez and Paulo Coimbra are right at the tail of the field here that we'd expect to make some moves, but the leaders have gone single file as they went through the kink between the horseshoes into the second horseshoe. Pole sitter still leads them, Mike Dam and Ronnie Coates, Robert Hartley in third, and then Camden Hibbert in fourth for the moment. You got to go all the way back to 8th place where Mitchell Peake has made one move up into 8th. There's Bramley in 10th, who went side by side with Coates through that left-hander back out onto the banking.
Yeah, breakaway alert. Looks like the top 9, maybe the top 10 are starting to split themselves up here, with Trevor Roy trying his best to chase down Mitchell Peake. It's a lonely place to be, but it's too wide now at the front.
To the bus stop, Ronnie Coates gets the race lead, and Mike Dam drops back in behind. That's such a long, full throttle run through NASCAR 1 and 2 around the back straight to the bus stop. Are we going to see the same maybe happen again on the way around to the start-finish line in turn 1? Mike Dam and the rest of them closing in on Ronnie Coates with a massive speed differential. Too wide again for the race lead. Gives Robert Hartley from third the chance to make a mega slingshot, but he is just going to stay in behind Mike Dam, let everyone else close up. So here comes Camden Hibbert, Rui Coimbra, Joshua Soto, and with 1 lap completed, it is a hornet's nest of Mazda MX-5s heading down towards turn 1. The inside line belongs to Ronnie Coates, and it looks like he'll hold on to that lead, but making a dive down the inside for some positions. Rui Coimbra is going to go from 5th to 3rd to 2nd in that red machine.
Camden Hibbett's not making it easy on them, though. He's too wide, trying to hold the outside and gives the spot up into the first horseshoe. Camden also benefiting from the wide and creative lines going on in turn 1 number there. And they're too wide this time through the horseshoe again, many places back. I saw Michael Coates jumping the curb a few rows back there.
And there's been drama on the exit of turn 1. 5 or 6 cars coming together there. We actually can have replays on this broadcast too. So we'll take a look at what happened.
Yeah, it looks like Odyssey Adams is coming in and gets it a little loose. We'll see if we can get that angle. Yeah, it gets a little bit loose and connects with what appears to be Lee Martin on the outside. So the points leader for Open Class manages to carry on, but I think that car's not handling very nice after that hit.
Yeah, I think Lee Martin must have had some suspension damage there, because then he loses traction on the exit of the corner here and he comes back across, and so it gets out on him there, and that looks like Josh Olsen. Someone else gets sandwiched up against the Armco. Yet one of the not a team cars looping around there, and a few cars end up with some damage. A few of them ends up delayed from the tail of the field there, and Tim Wire had to just sneak through.
Not going to lie, I feel a little bit responsible, because I did mention that Lee Martin was leading the Mr. Clean points coming into this race. Of course, he goes and gets tagged going into turn number 1. My bad. Applying the commentator's curse judiciously. You know, that's my style.
Oh dear. So here we go, the race lead. Impossible to break away without a major mistake from your competitors. So strong is the slipstream here at Daytona. We're 3 wide for the race lead at the end of lap 2. Pit stop still to come. Hey, get out of the way, people. Joshua Soto, Camden Hibbett, Rui Coimbra side by side. And there is some contact. Rui Coimbra gets sent into the pit entry. He's going to try to just squeak his way in with the rejoin. Michael Coates got tagged from behind as he checked up to not drive straight into the scene of the accident.
Oh, it's been a costly moment for Rui, though. I want to say he's running all the way down in 15th place, so 1st to 15th in the matter of 1 corner. But critically, he keeps it outside of the pit lane, so there should not be a black flag for him there.
I think even if you end up the correct side of the concrete wall, if you're on that part of the pavement faster than the pit lane speed limit,
it's maybe, yeah,
you can get black flagged. Okay, so no black flags out there, just meatballs for Odyssey Adams and Jose Gonzalez.
That's relief to hear. Lee Martin's managed to carry on. He's running 23rd. Roy Coimbra, as things shake out, like I said, looks like 15th place for him.
But only 5 seconds away from the race lead. It's funny how this goes. Joshua Soto has come from 6th on the grid to now lead as a master of this style of racing. Ronnie Coates and Camden Hibbett for company this time towards the bus stop. Ronnie Coates looks like he'll lead them through the chicane.
Yeah, Coates definitely doesn't seem to be afraid to hold on to the lead, even though it might be costing him a bit in the fuel battle. It's kind of curious to see Mike Dam hanging back in 4th place, you know, drops out of the lead after the first lap and then just hanging around back there, staying out of trouble. Seeing that from Hartley as well. Ray Lombardi actually making his way up into the front here, running, it looks like a status quo 7th place as they're 3 wide crossing the line.
And then Ethan Stanley is the open class leader in 8th, but you're right, Joshua Soto about to potentially get mugged by a couple of cars down towards turn 1.
2 by 2 into 1.
Yeah, he ends up holding that off, but it is 2 wide, 3 rows back behind him.
That's getting tight for sure. Have 1 set of cars 2 wide going into this first horseshoe here. Dam's holding the inside off of Camden Hibbett. Hibbett will get the better run on the exit. Lots of space, plenty of respect between these drivers right now. We'll see if that holds for another 38 minutes.
Through the pit stops and through all that.
2 wide, a little deeper in the field. Through the kink, Jordy Fikes up the inside of Rui Coimbra. Coimbra is making his way back from that incident already, putting the pressure on, and he'll get a spot from Jordy. holds it nicely up the inside, sets his sight forward on stop.
Key here is that little bit of a gap between Joel Singleton in 12th and David Staub in 13th, and they've closed it down to mean there's no significant gaps between Joshua Soto, the race leader, up on a high line, and everyone else in single file at the moment. He's letting Ronnie Coates through, and then he'll try to chop down in front of Camden here, but plenty of space to do that and work together for the moment.
Yeah, as we're watching along with these guys, we got a few taking the pit lane early because of damage. Josh Olson, Greg Mack, and Odyssey Adams. Things staying pretty clean, though, here so far. Not a lot of bump drafting, just a lot of drafting at this point.
And as far as the leading pack go, it's 17 cars still. It's very interesting tactics here from Josh Soto, clearly trying to stay in second place, pulling out of the draft in places. He was kind of defending the inside of the bus stop. And now he is going to get pushed by Camden Hibbert. Camden Hibbert pushing Joshua Soto around Ronnie Coates for the race lead. Two of them go around on the high side. Sam still just sitting in fourth.
And those spectators just jumping up in the way. But things clear out of the front. And they managed to make it through one. Again, nice and clean.
Now, this could end up being pretty critical of this leading gap of cars, a group of cars, because there's then a gap from Tom Sanders in 17th to Gareth Broxby in 18th. There are only two open class drivers within it, and they are Ethan Stanley and Joel Singleton, who are working with these quick pro guys to really get away, and obviously working with a teammate here, to get away from those other open class drivers like Gareth Brocklesby 30 and Giebler 4th, Lee Martin 5th.
Yeah, Roy Coimbra still slicing and dicing back there too. This time it's a move on David Staub on the way out of the infield up onto 3, and he takes another spot in the line as he drives himself back up. Not a lot of big winners and losers so far in the race. In fact, Josh Soto with 5 position gained is pretty much the biggest winner of the race as he leads us down into the bus stop one more time with a big lift and letting the guys behind suck up on him. After that, Mitchell Peak equally good all the way up to 4th place after starting 9th. And got to be feeling pretty good about that position. A couple Canadians running nose to tail between him and Mike behind. And a little bit of weaving there from the front. Soto seems inclined to hold on to the lead this time.
Definitely a little bit happening up front as Ronnie Coates goes to the lead, but he stays in line in front of Hibbert and Peak, and then chops down to the inside where Dam and Hartley, Orion teammates, are in line there. Just happy to sit 4th and 5th.
Ethan Stanley makes a big move from back in 7th place. He was, or 9th place. He was all the way up into 5th there for a moment before backing out of it. He's in that orange, teal, and black car. Looking up the inside here of Robert Hartley, holding it too wide. Slicing and dicing, though, showing what he can do as an open class driver up here with the front end of the pro class.
And you imagine it could go like this all the way to the end of the race with how powerful the slipstream is on this layout on the Daytona road course in these cars. It's sort of a second between turn 6 here around to the bus stop worth of slipstream, and then another second from the bus stop around towards turn 1. Not to mention little bits of it in the infield here and there. So certainly it takes a big mistake to get dropped. Hey, I've just looked at my timing screen that says Rui Coimbra made a 1.6 second trip through the pit lane, and I think that's factual.
Yeah, I think you're right. Registering as one pit stop, 1.6 seconds long. I think you're right on though. I think he managed to keep the speed on the pit lane low enough that it didn't cause him a problem. Either way, he's still making his way through the field, all the way up to what looks like 11th place now, so 4 spots back. But really critically, again, only 3 seconds off the lead, and really firmly within that leading draft. And we're coming through lap 6 here, and next time by, the pits will be open for a standard pit strategy. And you do have to wonder a little bit if the what the strategy is going to be for today. If I have a really good buddy for drafting, I'd be kind of tempted to go early and just avoid the big one,
Are a couple of groups of teammates within the leading group as well, as we see Joshua Soto get pushed by Cans and Hibbett around the outside. But he is going to go for the race lead, mayhaps, trying to break deep around the outside of Ronnie Coates, and he has a big wiggle. He ends up in the slippery outfield at turn 1, but he doesn't end up all the way in the grass, so that didn't work out. Not as much grip out there as he was expecting, but there are some groups of teammates. So you've got Hartley and Dam, you've got Roy and Singleton, and then, of course, always a smattering of not a team guys wherever you look in this championship.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be Tom Aton, Rui Coimbra. There might be another one in there somewhere.
Yeah, and actually, as I think about it, last time we were out here, we saw a lot of team driving, really deciding big chunks of this race, really aggressive pushing after the pit stops. So it will be interesting to see how serious the bumped drafting becomes as soon as the pit stops are finished.
Third place has changed hands in the open class, which is also the leader of the pursuit pack. They've got about 4 seconds between Ian Giebler here in 18th and Tom Sanders, the tail end of the leaders, in 17th. So the view forward from Giebler is going to be quite interesting, I think, because they've got just a couple of seconds. They dearly like to close up to that next car, and you'd be on the tail of the leaders, but not going to happen particularly easily, I don't think.
A little drama in the bus stop. Tom Athon got it really wrong that time through. Nearly drifted the car out towards the wall. You saw him kind of out of shape through the bus stop ahead. He's going to lose a little bit there, but critically, I think he and Tom Sanders will have lost their way and have become unattached from that lead group. So that we'll get a replay of it here. Maybe we'll see Tom just really slid it as he got onto the second apex and just barely caught the car. Back at the front, they're too wide again, going into one. Mike Dam.
Tom and Tom lost their way.
Mike Dam's got it real deep into one, opened the door and left Ronnie Coates to go by.
Joel Singleton's backwards as well from that leading group. So he was with his teammate, but he's had a problem in turn 1. There's that next group now led by Brocklesby ahead of Giebler. Let's take a look at what happened from Singleton's perspective.
Yeah, and as he goes down into turn number 1 here, braking really hard, just a little rear lockup, and you can see him countersteering already, countersteering, and around it goes. No cars nearby, no contact, just a little brush on the wall, and he manages to get it pointed the right way. Loses some time, but not his race, critically.
Now separated from his teammate Trevor Roy, who's in 11th though. So the gold machine, is that got to be Ray Lombardi, doesn't it? He has to slot in behind Ethan Stanley, who's picking up some positions as the open class leader, now up into 6th outright within a second and a half of the race leaders.
Yeah, qualified 12th up to 6th. It's a pretty good day for Ethan Stanley. We'll see if he can hold on to it. He's going to get a little shove here from Ray Lombardi, so maybe testing the waters for what the next section of this race will look like. Always a lot of time to be made up into the bus stop when they're fuel saving this hard.
And it seems to be the case that all the fan favourites are in the open class as well, because we've got Let's Go Zeus for Zeus Dalston, but also it sounds like Ethan Stanley might be the Stan Man, if I'm reading that correctly. So some supporters there.
I'm also seeing some cheers for Paulo Coimbra, who's deep in the pack, unfortunately, a lap down on the pit lane by the looks of things after some incidents. We'll see him as we drive by this time.
Here is the stand man getting pushed by Ray Lombardi, just in touch with the race leaders as they start to battle a little bit too wide on the way into the brakes. Here we've seen the cars look real unstable if you get in hot in that braking zone, the tail wagging out somewhat.
Yeah, it's definitely uncomfortable in this baseline setup. Cars not loving the super cold weather so far this year, but it has been a chilly season overall, even down here in Florida land.
And this for the race lead, a bit of a pinch through the kink there to the second horseshoe. Ronnie Coates has the inside. Joshua Soto should probably look to get back in line while he still can before the gap closes up, and he still can get back across in front of Camden Hibbert. Damn Peak Stanley, the cars behind. And Robert Hartley, who was third on the grid, now back into 10th in this group. Just a 15-car leading pack at this time. Tom Athon's dropped a chunk of positions now on this lap as well.
Yeah, car's not looking super comfortable for him, it must be said. He had another moment as he was coming onto the infield with that same sort of drift. Got the thing pointed the wrong way and then got it going again, but probably had to take a slowdown because he cut the course a little bit, rejoining. He'll be hoping to find a little bit of comfort, I think, on some fresh tires here soon.
Sean Hayes manages to just chop across the nose of Gareth Brocklesby ahead of Ian Giebler as they went through the bus stop in the battle for, is it still third? No, it's now second in open class because Tom Athon's dropped behind them. So it massively increases the lead of Ethan Stanley in open class as he can see the leaders just in front of him going 3 wide. He might even sneak through to fourth here potentially. Coates ahead of Mitchell Peak.
Little moment deep in that lead group. Trevor Roy just bombed it into turn number 1. Had to take evasive action around Robert Hartley. They're 2 wide now heading into the horseshoe. Oh, this is that good MX-5 racing. I'm loving this.
Just a casual 15-way pack for the lead. All of them within 2 seconds. All of them with a chance at a good pit stop and to also battle for the win in the second stint. When that comes up. If you're any of the drivers in this group and you're seeing the top 15 continue, the leading group continue to build an advantage over everyone else, unless you've got, a really, really good, really trusted teammate, I don't see why you would pit early away from this pack.
The only reason I can imagine would be just trying to avoid the big one, because
if you threw some tea leaves and it said, first, second, and third all in the wall, turn 1.
Yeah, it's been feisty up here though at the front in the last couple laps, and depending on the fuel save, you got to say that we're getting close to the end of the window that we expected. We figured about 11 laps with no draft, but it'll be interesting to see just how far a person could go with more draft. And who's that I'm seeing now running in 9th place and kind of getting the bus stop all wrong? That's Roy Coimbra. Coimbra's actually running 8th right now and has a little bit of a run coming from behind him with Tim and Bramley going up high. Bramley giving up some time, though, on that high line as Trevor Roy catches a draft up underneath him. Any takers on the pit lane this time? We'll see.
Takers for 3 wide for the lead again. Oh, we do have one. Here goes Mike Dam and his teammate, and then Michael Coates and some others react to that. Okay, 4 cars on the pit lane. Teammates Dam and Hartley trying to make an alternative strategy work here, and Michael Coates and Tom Sanders follow them in. And Coates, at least, it very much looked in reaction to what those quick guys, Mike Dam and Robert Hartley, are doing. 9,700 I rating for Robert Hartley. Like, I think I'll go with him this weekend.
Never a mistake. You gotta wonder when you hear the Hartley name, what's the relation to the other Hartley, right? Impressive I rating there. He and Mike Dam had a pretty good showing last time we were out. I want to say right until the last little moments. Pretty consistent pit stops across the board. The only exception is Tom Sanders, who's taken about 5 seconds less of fuel than everyone else. He must have really been saving in that first stint if he's going to make that work. Oh, a little bit of drama as they come onto the infield. That was Tim and Bramley getting a little shove from Trevor Roy up the inside. Two of them were too wide, and it looks like Tim was just expecting maybe Trevor to get a little bit more on that curb. Either way, it's two touches, one to put him the wrong way and another to put him the right way.
Two wrongs don't always make a right, but in this case, apparently, it's gotten away without too much damage, but it's dropped some of them away from the pack. We're starting to see the fracturing and splintering of the leaders, some of whom might react to what teammates Mike Dam and Robert Hartley did. Though they're still more than 1 second separated, expecting that Hartley would probably close up to Dam at some point. This leading group not far away from having the opportunity to pit if they want to react to it.
Big run here, big run, but a couple people dipping below the line. We're going to see our second group. This is Camden, this is Mitchell Peak, and it looks like only those two taking the lane this time. Good to have a partner. Wish you had a few more. And they're 3 wide, now 2 wide going into 1.
Sure are a couple of other drivers peeling off for pit lane, like Brocklesby, for example, leaves us with just 5 cars left in the leading pack of Ronnie Coates, Joshua Soto, Ethan Stanley, Rory Coimbra, and Ray Lombardi. Definitely, though, those drivers left leading the train of Coates and Soto are 2 very quick and capable guys as well.
Yeah, Coates really nailed turn number 1, it must be said, and just absolutely was flying away from the pack down to the first horseshoe. He's managing to hold on to a nice little gap here of almost a second between himself and, we'll call it almost 7/10 of a second between himself and Josh Soto. Of course, that'll all evaporate by the time he gets onto the banking, but it feels really good to be that far ahead through the horseshoes.
Hey, have you ever seen the videos of couple and, they're each in separate rooms in the house, and at the same time they both call the dog and see which one the dog goes to? I feel like if you were, say, Ethan Stanley is the open class leader or anyone else in that leading pack, when you see Ronnie Coates and Joshua Soto staying out, but Mike Dam and Robert Hartley pitting, you've got that same decision to make, like, which one do I go with?
Here, I can understand that one. So far, it seems like from the pit strategy front, Tom Sanders is the one who's got it the most right, as he's leading Mike Dam and Camden Hibbett around. Camden Hibbett and Mike Dam in the first pack of guys that have already done their pit stops. But I have a feeling we'll see the rest of the leaders, or a good chunk of the rest of the leaders, taking their stops this time.
Am I crazy? Does it look like Tom Sanders is massively underfueled?
Yeah. It does seem a bit like that. But, this is Daytona. Maybe he was the one that figured out how to hit the ignition button and, run the starter a few times. Only 2 cars stay out. Looks like Ronnie Coates, Josh Soto, Ethan Stanley, David Staub, Tim and Bramley, and Jordy Fike are going to hit the lane this time by. And that means that we've got Ray Lombardi and Rory Coimbra holding down the fort and pushing on for a 13th lap this time.
Yeah, now they are definitely in the minority. Oh, Ronnie Coates overshot his pit box there. Had to engage reverse gear. Costly when you're in a battle on pit lane, battle on pit road here. Classic Daytona style. Could see him go from leading this pack out of the pit lane to being led out of the pit lane by this group. Do not see many cars at all thinking about tyres. There goes Soto out in front of him. Here comes Bramley and Stanley as well, so he drops to the back of this group. Look at all those cars that are on the racetrack as well. Gonna have to go the long way around turn 1, but I think they're gonna get ahead of our drivers who have just pitted, leading car to have made their stop, Mike Dam, as the pack forms up again after the pit stops.
Yeah, and the cars that pitted early seem to have been the ones that got the advantage. I don't know if it was an undercut from just letting the tires cool a bit, or maybe just from being a little bit more patient in those last couple laps, but those two have really managed to make that work for themselves. And I've lost Dam all of a sudden on my screen. Where'd he go? Oh no, the Canadian! A moose must have stepped on his internet.
I think a moose bit the cable. A moose bit my sister once.
Oh, that must have been a really bad day for your sister. I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I don't have a sister, so she wasn't bitten by a moose. It's a Monty Python quote, I think. But it looks like we either have lost him or are about to lose him, which is both heartbreaking for him, but perhaps also for his teammate, Robert Hartley, who might have been banking on someone to work with. These last two drivers from out front to pit, got to be so committed, approaching that pit lane speed there. Big drop of speed with not many reference markers in that wide open ocean of pavement. As you approach, you can see the numbers on the track map, our drivers on pit lane right now versus the leader of the other pack.
Ray Lombardi has to back it up on pit lane, and so does Trevor Roy behind them. So the two of them having a little bit of a moment. That won't do them any favors as the pack is breathing down on them, coming out in fourth. And Mitchell Peak is jumping into the lead, says, well, one Canadian's gone, I'll have a go. And he's got another car flying up behind him. That's Hartley on the outside. 3x3 into turn number 1.
The speed limit on the pit road goes further around the inside of turn 1 now than it used to. So you're not up to speed until now, and those other cars are racing past you on the other side of the wall. Got to get up to speed before you merge onto this highway. People could learn that lesson, I suspect. But so long as you're with the leading pack, you've got a chance at Daytona.
It's funny how easily everyone seems to merge from here, relative to how difficult it is to merge on your average highway.
Anyway. Here on the racetrack, they're actually, giving it some, trying to get up to speed before they merge.
All right, here. Either way, it looks like Trevor Roy's cost himself a shot at being attached to that pack because of that little incident, and I'd have to say that he'll be hard-pressed unless there's some serious fuel save, which I'm not expecting in this lead pack to rejoin. So we've got 11 cars racing for the lead now, and crucially, only one open class driver among them. That's Ian Stanley. And then more than 15 seconds behind, Ian Giebler is the next open class car, currently running in 16th place. So Ethan just has to hold on to this lead pack, stay out of trouble, and he'll have himself a real solid debut performance here in the Spec-5 World Series.
Big move on the brakes from Rory Coimbra on the way into the bus stop. He gets past Tom Sanders, now getting himself back up into 6th. Looking at the pit stop times, which you can see at hjbc.live, it's definitely seeing Bramley and Sanders as some pretty quick pit stops that might need to save a little bit of fuel in this stint, even if they saved a lot in the first stint. Up front, we got a change of lead as Michael Coates on the low line up against the apron goes through to the lead. Robert Hartley follows him, Joshua Soche follows him, and it looks like Hibbert and Peak are going to get hung out to dry around the outside, although Peak is quite brave on the brakes on the way in here, trying to keep third. Out a little wide, but Coates also goes out a little wide on the exit of 1.
Yeah, that was feisty all the way around. They're still too wide going into the horseshoe, a couple rows deep. And that looks like, it's just ahead of Coimbra.
There from Hibbert on Soto.
Yeah, and Soto's going to give a spot to who else? Rory Coimbra, who's all the way back in the top 5 after that incident early on.
Yeah, he was with the leading pack. He got dropped back to 15th. He managed to just get the coattails of the leading group. That's Brocklesby?
Yeah, Brocklesby was backing up down the pit lane there.
He was on pit lane for the second time because he had a black flag, which I don't know what was for. So now he's in pit lane and he's overshot his box on the second time of asking. So that is ouchies.
Yeah, I'd say a bad day. Takes 4 tires. Having a hard day for him. Either way, at the front, a little bit of a gap between 1 and 2, but I got to think that Camden and Mitchell are going to get a good push here, coming towards the bus stop. And Mitchell, does he want it? Gets right up on the bumper.
So it's a top 11 cars at the moment, all led by Robert Hartley. You've got 4 seconds from Bramley in 11th to Geordie Fike in 12th. That group of drivers having dropped by the lead group. A lot of work to do if they're going to catch up to them with Geordie Fike, Trevor Roy and David Starb together here.
Yeah, a big run here up the middle. Looks like Rory Coimbra gets kind of squished down. Josh Soto's going to take him 3 wide and now 2 wide. Carries it on. He's running all the way to the front on the way into 1. Easily clears it.
There we go. Yeah, big move. Big move from Joshua Soto. Saw an open lane. Went all the way up 4 or 5 positions into the lead of the race to lead them through the infield, which I think if you feel like you've got a lot of pace, lead the group through the infield. Let them leapfrog you on the banking and through the bus stop, but try to lead through the infield if you can. Suddenly now he's not the leader. Michael Coates is way tidier in the infield. Funny how that happens.
Yeah, Coates right up on the back of Soto there. The 2 of them just keeping it 100 all the way through. It's really honestly the back half of the top 10 where we're seeing a little bit more action. That being said, I am noticing Tim and Bramley, your countryman, he's just kind of playing it cool at the back here. I've seen him lifting, I've seen him breaking back here, just kind of riding his way along in 10th place.
Well, I think he's absolutely on the fringe of the fuel. And if he is, I think Tom Sanders is guaranteed a second spot. Dropped sort of 2 seconds to the leaders last lap to go to the tail of this peloton. Simon Bramley, and I think towards the bus stop you're going to see another big old lift from him as well. Yeah, for sure.
Nice clean line through there. It is really critical to kind of get your left side tires in the rut there on the outside of the curbs, on the first curb on the left.
So here we are on board with Bramley in the tow of Ethan Stanley, open class leader. Still doing a good job with that, though the total number of positions between himself and second in class has diminished a little bit. It's still looking like a good performance from him at the moment. 5 laps to go, 9 minutes to go, and they're 2 wide for 3 lanes for the race lead, heading down and towards turn 1. Michael Coates looking to go around the outside of Joshua Soto, ends up offline, has a big drift, no grip away from the apex there, it seems like tonight. And in the row behind, Hibbert around the outside of Mitchell Peak. Hibbert braking so deep, looking to go around the outside of Michael Coates as well.
Yeah, the elbows are starting to come out with under 9 minutes to go.
Got 2 horse shoes, but no horse socks.
I have no idea what you're talking about, Haynes.
I have no idea what I'm talking about. Biggest mover in this leading pack, Tom Sanders, came from 18th on the grid to sit 7th at the moment, and of course, by no means out of contention for a good result here as well. Particularly thinking, though, that he might be very short on fuel. So I wonder what might happen to him in these remaining couple of laps. Bramley started to make some moves, though, I think. 11th up into 10th ahead of Ethan Stanley, who's now the tail of the train. Second is bumping first, Camden Hibbert. Bumpers locked with Joshua Soto. And Michael Coates joins them as well for that full Newton's cradle effect of speed towards the bus stop. Now officially the Le Mans chicane. It'll take me a while before it's not the bus stop. Same with Parabolica, Curva Alvarezzo.
Yeah, there's no chance I'll get that right. But we'll have some fun with it anyway. The move from Timon, though, it felt to me a little bit like he was feeling uncomfortable. He was nearly 7/10 off of the next para drivers ahead of them, who themselves were nearly 7/10 off of the lead pack. So maybe a bit of a worry from him that he was looking at the possibility of maybe not being able to stay in contact. And of course, if you want to be in the catbird seat, you got to be there at the end of the race.
From the start-finish line into the braking of turn one, a lot of the drivers in line on the low line started lifting off very early. Rui Coimbra shot round the outside at two of them. Mitchell Peak also gained some positions around the outside of a couple of them. Now he's challenging for second place. He's on the inside of Camden Hibbett here, and it looks like he'll get it, and Rui Coimbra wants to follow him for the moment. Coimbra, the driver, along with Ronnie Coates, in the top group here that took the most fuel and therefore might have the most ability to be aggressive at the end here. And he's going aggressive again into the next horseshoe, looking for third place on Camden Hibbett, and he'll get it. So Coimbra now getting aggressive with just a couple laps to go. I called it 5 to go, but it might have only been 4. It's flip-flopping on that.
Yeah, it's really close. I've got 3 on mine right now, and I've passed the line. But I was just going to say, Camden showing a lot of awareness with that Rui Coimbra diving up the inside of him. Not only does he let the spot go by, he also rejoins really effectively, losing minimal amounts of time. So kind of showing both sides of the skill, how to see what's going on around you and see how to avoid it. Rui Coimbra continuing the aggression, though, up the inside, big run, and he's going all the way to the lead.
He is. I think there's some other guys in this front group still needing to save a little bit of fuel. They wanted those quick pit stops to stay with the leading group. They would have all saved a lot of fuel in the opening stint. Now we've got less cars in the pack, and we're getting a little more aggressive in the second stint. Some of them might be thinking, I need to just save a little bit of fuel, perhaps. Rui Coimbra does not seem like he's one of them, but he's got no buddies as everyone else wants to go with Joshua Soto in the middle lane. Hartley changes down to the low line. This is where it gets super speedway competitive.
Oh, and Hartley breaks right before the big push. But you know what? As we were coming to the line that time, I saw my lap counter flipping back and forth between 4 laps and 3 laps to go. We are right on the edges of it. And I think you're right that some of these guys are playing that game as well. Ooh, contact. And that puts Camden off the track. No, I got that wrong. Mitchell Peak off the track.
So it puts Mitchell Peak to the back of this group. Tom Sanders drops out of this pack as he's on pit lane right now, needing to take an extra 10-second splash of fuel. 15 seconds wasn't enough. It needed to be more like 18, 19, 20 because Bramley has then also dropped off the leading group. 18 seconds of fuel wasn't enough for Bramley. He's given up on the leading pack to save fuel, I think. He doesn't even have enough to save going with the pack. More contact in the horseshoe as Ray Lombardi has to take to the motorcycle hairpin.
Yeah, he gets up the inside of Camden Hibbett, but it's a little bit loose and a little bit too deep for Ray Lombardi as he drives into the side of the door there. He carries on, though, and it looks like both cars will escape with minimal damage. And now Timon will have a drafting partner in the form of Ray Lombardi as they rejoin on the banking.
Like it's definitely got to be 2 more at the line this time based on lap times of 2 minutes 10 seconds. If there's more than 2 minutes 10 on the clock when they get to that start finish line, it's got to be 2 more. I don't think the white flag's waving this time. Joshua Soto leads the group through the bus stop. There was once 17 cars in the lead pack, then 15, then 11. Now we're down to just 8 with Joshua Soto, Rui Coimbra, Robert Hartley, Ronnie Coates, Michael Coates, Camden Hibbett, Ethan Stanley, and Mitchell Peak. And I think critically for that open class leader, Ethan Stanley, he's still part of this leading group as they fan out 3 wide for the race lead. Soto down low, Coimbra in the middle, Robert Hartley, massive speed up high, 4th place. The bump draft comes along to help the low line, but Rui Coimbra chops down to lead with the inside line. 2 minutes 44 still on the clock. 2 laps left at Daytona.
When Hartley is forced to take the wide line by Rui Coimbra, taking a real deep. Coimbra back to the lead. Hartley second, Soto third, Coates fourth, and Michael Coates fifth.
The leader's pace, 2 minutes 10. Bramley at 2:11 maybe picked it up just a little bit, but that group, Lombardi and Bramley, I'm not sure they're going to be able to catch these leaders. Little bit of traffic potentially coming up for the leaders, but Odyssey Adams Jr. is competent and quick driver. He's just been through the lane for it says 4th time. I'm not sure that's completely true, but he's been delayed by some incidents, obviously, less so than his actual pace. Leading group is 8 cars.
Yeah, exiting onto the NASCAR oval. Ethan Stanley kind of hanging out here, 7th place in that.
Oh, there's a great picture. There is your recalibrated approach speeds for Daytona Beach Airport. They're no longer coming flying in at 500 knots. It's a much more sensible 170, 180 knot approach speed. How's the approach speed, though, for the leading pack, Rui Coimbra? He's getting shuffled back as Robert Hartley goes around the outside. Joshua Soto pushing Hartley through to the race lead, but not being able to go with him. Soto stays in 3rd as we're going to come around to take the white flag. Where do you want to be in this pack for your best chance on the final lap?
Got to think that 2nd or 3rd, maybe 3rd place is where you'd want to be given how the draft has been playing out. But it all comes down to that run out of the bus stop. Can you get it right? Can you get it perfectly right when it counts? We are coming to the line. It looks like it'll be 1 to go this time by. Is there 3 wide again coming to the line?
With the white flag out, Joshua Soto leads them onto the final lap with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, 3 wide behind him. Heading down in towards turn 1, Rui Coimbra is in a nasty sandwich there, and he's going to drop back a couple spots, has a little bit of a slide. Race lead, he ends up back in 5th, potentially 6th. Got open class leader Ethan Stanley there, starting to get a little bit aggressive. He's been so sensible this whole time. I'm the only open class driver amongst all of these pros. I just got to go with them. But then that white flag waves and everyone loses their mind. It's been crazy competitive already around Daytona. It's going to get more so on this final lap. Timon Bramley's on pit lane. He didn't have enough fuel either, and there might be a few other drivers who only had 1 second more than him still needing to save in this final group. Not Joshua Soto. He took 22 seconds of fuel to Hartley's 20 to 21 from a lot of the other drivers behind him, and look at him starting to pull away from the rest of them. Building a couple of car lengths gap as there's some contact behind.
Ethan got real loose. No contact, but it looked like he was going to go into the door of Ronnie Coates. He manages to gather it back up, and they're weaving on the banking.
Conventional wisdom says you don't want to be the one who leads the pack out of the bus stop. You'll get swallowed up before the start-finish line. And to that end, Joshua Soto is trying to play some tactical games, but there's contact behind. Michael Coates gets fed into the safer barrier on the outside of NASCAR turn 2. Maybe a bad bump draft, maybe some contact back there. He's losing positions and he won't be part of this lead battle. Coming out of the bus stop, Joshua Soto with a car length on Hartley, with less than a car length on Hibbett. Hibbett can play Kingmaker, or he can slingshot around the both of them to try to take the win. Ronnie Coates back in 4th might be the one with a chance to get a good run at this. Ethan Stanley could also play Kingmaker side by side with the leader, Joshua Soto, in the middle lane, forcing Hartley up wide behind him, and then down low, chopping to the low line. Big move from Camden Hibbett. If he can get a bump, he can take the race win, but it's massive speed from Ethan Stanley, and the open class driver takes the win by 9 thousandths of a second from 4th or 5th coming out of the bus stop. He timed it to perfection, and he squeaks a race win, and the cars behind him, 5 of them covered by only a 1/10 of a second.
Tom Athon's holding on to the outside line as they come to the line with Ian Giebler second place in open class, 12th overall. A good finish, but it'll be overshadowed by that performance by Ethan. Brian Schabelsky hits the line. Tom Sanders alone after that pit stop finishes 15th. It looks like Zeus Dalston's out of fuel as they come to the line. He's got 3 cars past him. That's Timon, that's Andy Kosick, and that is Orlando Harrell. So 2 open class drivers and Timon Bramley passing him right before the line. Sean Hayes finishing 22nd. 2 wide are Jose Gonzalez. And
let me have this. It's going to go down to the wire between Wire and Gonzalez as they're nose to nose going to the checkered flag. Who'll get it here as they make a little bit of contact? I think the short run from Gonzalez does it, and he wins it by a hair. I just wanted to say going down.
He wins it by a wire. Come on. That was a good one.
But he's the real deal. He's no wire fraud.
There you go. Well, an impressive performance there from our overall winner. And I think in what might be a series first for us, at least, we'll have to interview our pro class winner first and then our open class winner second.
What a finish, though. Absolutely what you expect to see from the Daytona road course in these MX-5s. Such a tactical game of cat and mouse for 45 minutes until it comes down to being in the correct position, coming out of the bus stop chicane on the final lap to just pick and choose. Definitely gonna get an onboard at some point with that, but let's look at these results. Ethan Stanley, Camden Hibbett, Mitchell Peake, Ronnie Coates, Joshua Soto, Robert Hartley, Ray Lombardi, Trevor Roy, Geordie Fike, and David Starb. Look at the gap that the blue stripe open class Ethan Stanley has over the rest of them there to Ian Giebler, 12th outright, second in class there behind Rui Coimbra, then Tom Aiton, Brian Chabelsky, Tom Sanders. You've got a swathe of open class drivers here of Lee Martin getting a decent result there, and Andrew Gilliland, Orlando Harrell, both of those drivers gaining 13 positions. Andy Kosick gaining 8 to finish in 19th position there. Bramley, after his second pit stop, ends up all the way back in 20th. Wants a challenger for the win, but he short-fueled it the first time around. A little bit of a miscalculation. He wasn't the only one. Tom Sanders, Michael Coates pitted twice because of the damage. Let's look at 21st place then with Zeus Dalston. He was the one who ran out of fuel towards the end there as well. No kimchi power for the last couple of 100 feet. Sean Hayes, Joel Singleton, Jose Gonzalez, Tim Wire, Michael Coates, Greg Mack, Odyssey Adams, Josh Olson, Gareth Brocklesby, Mike Dam. Unfortunately, we lost him, so we're in the DNF territory here in 31st, ahead of Paulo Coimbra, Mario Norris. Don't think we saw Eugenio Pellicci actually cut any laps this time around. What a finish. Devon, I'll send you down to the pit lane.
Well, I'm looking for our pro class driver, but I'm not finding it, so I'm thinking that we'll just have to welcome our overall open class winner, Ethan Stanley. Hell of a race and a hell of a finish.
Yeah, it was. That's for sure.
First time racing in the series, or just first time we've had the pleasure of watching you?
I made a couple starts about 3 seasons ago, but yeah, first time coming back in about a year and a half, so that was a lot of fun. Didn't expect to win, but that was a tough one at the end.
Yeah, it looked like a measured race all the way through. In the first half of the race, you're just kind of trying to stay with the pack?
Yeah, I was just trying to stay with that front pack, make sure I have the draft, and just make sure I'm up there for the end, because, Daytona, you never know what happens.
Ethan, we've got the replay up here right now. You should be able to watch the live feed and talk us through sort of your thoughts in this moment on the final lap.
Well, I kind of drafted with the 31 a little bit to catch up to him, and then I'm more of an oval racer guy myself, so use that little bit of experience to make my way through, and just found a spot and made it work.
Well, it looks like you timed it just right. When was the point when you were sure that you had it?
When I got right up next to the leader, Camden. I knew I had a little bit more momentum, so just edging out the line. I think it was 9/1000ths of a second.
Well, we'll let this one play out in front of us here as we watch this victory. While we're watching, anyone you need to thank or shout out for your performance today?
Nobody shout out. Just shout out to you guys for doing the broadcast. From what I saw at the beginning, a pretty good broadcast. Just shout out to everybody that also runs this league. They do a great job.
It's a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to watch it when you put on such a good show. And look at that, coming to the finish line right as we finish the interview. Great one.
What a amazing bit of footage there on the onboard. It all just opens up for Ethan Stanley. It's like they see he's an open class driver, and none of them really want to defend him. They're all worried about the other pro class guys, and it just whoosh, it just opens up some great little tactical maneuvers there, though, like pushing Ronnie Coates early to close both of them up towards the race lead, and then abandoning him at exactly the right time. So let's get the pro class winner, and in a little bit of a change of form, Camden Hibbert, still a great result for your Pro Class Championship, but the Pro Class winner, not the outright winner today.
Yeah, it was, I don't know. It's just classic Daytona with Miatas, I guess. It's huge congrats to Ethan, I believe it was. Ethan for taking the outright win. I don't think it's the first time it's happened, but I know it's the first time in a long time. So congrats to him. But yeah, awesome racing throughout the field tonight. I think I need to apologize for Rui Coimbra. I'm just going to be safe and do it now. First couple laps, I might have squeezed him in turn one and caused him to spin. I haven't checked on it yet, but if I did, I apologize, Rui. But yeah, other than that, it was really clean racing all night and lots of fun throughout the whole pack.
Saw two cars from the leading group need to pit twice for fuel. Was it a bit? Was it cut a bit close for the leading guys?
I was fine. I had more fuel than I did last week at Okayama. I was about 3/4 of a lap good on fuel when I crossed the line. So I was good on fuel. It went as I planned with number of laps. So don't know if it caught some people by surprise if they were running, expecting to run some lower lap times. I know the pace of the pack kind of picked up a little bit. So I don't know if people were kind of expecting to be able to save throughout the whole race. And in the last 5 or 6 laps, we really weren't saving at all. So maybe that is part of it. But yeah, I was fine on fuel. Actually way more comfortable than I was last week at Okayama.
Is there any track more exciting for these cars than Daytona?
I don't know. It's down to Daytona, and I think Road America. It's really the only two tracks that have this kind of racing, and it's awesome. I love the way this races. I'm glad the pit stops were able to keep the field together tonight, so we could have a big pack like we did. Because I think it's better I think it's more fun to drive, and I think it's also a better show to watch for everybody watching the broadcast. So glad everybody was able to stay together. But no, I don't think so. This track is amazing for these cars. If we make a trip to Daytona or Road America every season, it'll it's going to be a great race every time.
Definitely knew that the not a team guys were going to work together, that Mike Dam and Robert Hartley were going to work together, that Trevor Roy and Joel Singleton were going to try to work together. Looked like yourself and Joshua Soto maybe had a couple bumps go back and forth together.
Yeah, me and Josh tend to work together a little bit. David Staub, I don't think he would play some teammates, alliances, if you will, between me and Josh Soto. And yeah, it was lots of fun tonight, though.
Well, like we say, a super close finish. You're only 9,000ths of a second away from the outright win. You still get sort of pro class winning points there to help you at this stage in the championship.
Yeah, it's I think I'm moving up the rankings after my struggle in round 2, so definitely gonna keep the momentum rolling. I think we're at Sonoma next week, I believe. Could be wrong on that, but I believe it's Sonoma, so it should be another fun track as well. Always like how that track races, and yeah, hoping to keep the momentum going here in the next couple weeks.
Congrats, and we'll see you there. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, see you next week. Thanks, guys.
There we go. Our winners from both class, and it happens sometimes, but it's special like Christmas because it's not every day that the open class winner is the outright winner, but it was superb gamesmanship from Ethan Stanley. Just stay with the leading pack all day, pick the right lanes between the bus stop and the checkered flag on the final lap. That's MX5 Cup racing at Daytona, and it's why Spec-5 World Tour loves it. He gets that open class win. Camden Hibbett gets the pro class win. What a race. Thanks for joining us on HJBC. Remember, hjbc.live for the live timing, all of our broadcasts. We look forward to bringing you next week's race from Sonoma. Camden had it right, and we're looking forward to that one. David Haynes here with Devin Peters, Michael Derby. We'll see you in 1 week's time for the next round of Spec-5 World Tour.